or maybe underdriven because you don't want to crash because that's going to lose more points. I mean, it just spirals. And just being yourself is always the best because you got there being yourself in that position. So, I think he obviously needs to look at where the car is. You can go down a rabbit hole, and that's the biggest issue. Well, the car's working for him. I need to find a setup that works for me. And sometimes that can be the worst thing because you don't have much testing and you try so many different things, and you can get quite lost with it. So I hope that's not the case. He's got Mark, who has a lot of experience. Hopefully he's given him the positive feelings and how to handle this pressure, because we want to see this title fight go down to the end, and you never want to see a driver not performing at his best, because we know how good Oscar is, and I want to see this fight all the way to Abu Dhabi because I'm going to be there. So I thought it'd be nice to see it firsthand.
Gonna do it for Jensen if no one else.
Yeah.
It's weird that we see Oscar, we see Lando, and I think we've seen a very chilled Lando walking around the paddock. I haven't noticed a huge amount of difference in Oscar's demeanour. He'll still stop and have a conversation. He'll still crack a gag if he's got the time to do it. But I have seen a few comments where he's talked about Monza. And that's still preying on his mind a bit, and he's kind of been mulling over what happened that weekend. I don't know how you get rid of that then. If that actually does prey on your mind, how do you get over a setback or a weekend where you think, actually, you've not been doing what's right for me? How do you get that to the back of your mind?
You got to speak to the lead guy. You got to get out there and speak to Zach, Andrea. Those are the people that make the decisions, and you need to speak to them and say, "What was this the case? Was this fair? Would you do it again? Do you have my back?" And you have to trust them when they tell you the truth. I think that's the main thing. A lot of the time you'll say, "Wow, but did they mean that?" Do they want this British driver to win the championship because they're, it's a British team? Well, Zach's not British. Andrea's not British. So, best man wins. And I think it's just being as open as you can. There's so much always in teams. There's a little chitter chatter everywhere. The most important thing is just beeline for the most important person in the team that makes decisions, and just have it out with them. And I think for the driver to do that, it's really important as well. Yeah, it's great if your manager, because he's been around, he knows everyone in the paddock, but it needs to be the driver, the guy that is in the car, that is feeling like it wasn't fair.
We go to Vegas. I'd like to ask who Vegas suits more, Oscar or Lando. I don't actually think it suits either of them, to be fair. It's not necessarily McLaren's track, this one. And I'm not sure it suits McLaren in the case of it's going to be very cold there as well. But they might fancy it being a little bit warmer. So it is the answer to that. This is Max's track because he's already shown what he can do around there.
It's the track that Max needs to maximize everything, and McLaren have just got to pick up as many points as they can and not lose out to Max. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be super cold. There's also a chance of rain, from what I've seen.
Yeah,
which definitely will mix it up on such a. It's kind of a fast track, Vegas. It's a street course. But there's some fast corners there. In the wet, it would be very tricky. So yeah, it's definitely a Max track. It's a shame to have seen Red Bull and Max drop away the last couple of races because it was like a 3-car fight for the championship. Now it's definitely a lot trickier for him. Still possible if they get that those run of performances back since the summer break. But it does feel that McLaren have picked it up a little bit and have been actually maximizing what they have, whereas I think they probably weren't before. When the drivers start looking at each other for the championship, you don't maximize really everything within the team, I don't think so. Hopefully we'll be back, and yeah, it's just about them picking up as many points as they can, the McLaren drivers.
Max is officially out of the title race if Lando outscores him by at least 9 points this weekend. Did he ever truly believe that he was in that title hunt. I don't think Max ever feels he's completely out of anything, but